Hi everybody, my name is Danielle Nicole and welcome to Monetary Makeup. Alright, so we have a ton of content to get through in this video, so we're going to jump right to it. So I recently picked up the new Smashbox Photo Finish Control Mattifying Primer. So I thought in addition to reviewing and wear testing this primer, we could put it up against their original Photo Finish Oil and Shine Control Primer. Now, in addition to testing out each of these primers to see if the new one beats the old one, I also have a little surprise for you guys. So I recently reviewed the new Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, and I am pretty sure I found a dupe. So in addition to testing out each of these primers, as well as seeing if I did in fact find a dupe for the new Beautiful Skin Foundation, the finance topic of the day is going to be pertaining to long-term care and what is an option you may want to consider if you either don't have the health to qualify for a long-term care insurance plan or if a long-term care insurance policy is simply out of your budget. So if you're excited to get started, don't forget to hit the like button and let's get started right now. Alright you guys, so here is the deal with this new primer. So I have tested out each of these primers several times, both with and without makeup, in addition to using a damp sponge, a brush, using setting powder, and no setting powder. So I have a lot of thoughts about this primer, which I'm going to explain in more detail as the application will pertain to those thoughts. So each of these primers look beautiful on the skin if you're not going to go in with any makeup. So the other day I actually had each of these primers on 2 separate days, and each days I got a compliment about how beautiful my skin looked, particularly with the blurring effect and how smooth and mattifying the skin looked. So I was initially really excited to test out this new primer because it has salicylic acid as well as zinc in the ingredients, which are great for breakouts, which unfortunately I do suffer from. So I am going to be swatching each of these on my hand as well as doing a demo of the primers. However, I am not going to be applying these primers all over the skin. So I'm giving away a lot of my thoughts in this intro, but I wanted to explain each of these primers suck the moisture out of my skin so much, and both of them leave a film almost everywhere on the skin. So then when you go in with foundation, it looks like you have these dry patches of skin everywhere, but it's not actually your skin. So the white swatch right here is the Oil and Shine Control Primer, and then the bottom swatch is the new Control Mattifying Primer. So when you actually blend out each of these primers, they both smooth out to be translucent, and each of them do have a mattifying effect, and they both feel a little bit silicone-y. However, the new primer does feel a little bit more creamy in comparison. So as you can see, they both dry down pretty quickly, and I will show you on the skin how they do leave a beautiful blurring effect. So basically what it comes down to is I am only going to be applying the primer to the forehead because I've tested this out so much. I know it's going to ruin the makeup, and I really wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So not only are we going to be testing out these 2 primers, but also the 2 different foundations. So let me take just a little bit of the Oil and Shine Control Primer. And as you can see, I don't have very much at all. So I'm just going to apply this to the left side of my forehead. And I am not going to take this down the rest of the skin because you will see what happens to my foundation once I start application. It is the strangest thing, you guys. It almost looks like it starts to pill really bad though. So now taking the new Smashbox Mattifying Primer, I'm just going to apply the same amount on the tip of my finger and rub this into the forehead. Okay, so we're really up close and personal. So I just wanted to show you in comparison, I do think the skin thus far looks beautiful. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to tell. However, my pores are so blurred on each side. I will say the Oil and Shine Control Primer on this side does just a little bit better of a job at blurring the skin and the pores. And the new one does a great job as well, but I think this one really blows away when it comes to blurring the skin. Alright, so let's get started with the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation, and I have the shade 3 Cool. Now, I mentioned this in the other review video I did of this foundation. It's not an exact match. It's not quite as cool and fair as I would have hoped for, but I can certainly get away with it. So I'm just going to squirt out not even half a pump. I think this foundation goes a very long way. So I'm taking my Shot Miss A damp sponge, my absolute favorite sponge in the entire world. It's so good. And let's get started with pouncing this foundation in. Now I'm using the other side of the sponge, that way I don't pick up any of the primer on the rest of the skin. So I just grabbed a tiny bit more because I always like to take the tip of my sponge and really press into those small creases. If this foundation that is about to go on next is going to be a dupe, I'm going to be so excited because I really enjoy this foundation. I've worn it a few times since the review, and it does provide a nice blurring effect to the skin. I would say you do get a medium coverage. The only thing is if you build it up too much, it can definitely get cakey. So I think where this foundation really shines is more that light to medium range. Alright, so I have the Beautiful Skin Foundation on the left side of the skin and nothing on this side. So I think you can see it does a beautiful job at not only blurring the skin, but covering up redness. Now you can still see a couple of my breakouts shining through, but I actually like that because I prefer a more medium coverage. And then if I want to go in and build up with more coverage, you can always do that, or with concealer. The only thing I have to report about using this foundation since I posted the review is that I think it is making my skin break out. I'm not exactly sure what is in this foundation that could be causing that, but this is the only thing I have changed in my routine was testing out this foundation. So I'm really sad to report that I might not actually be able to wear this if it continues breaking out my skin. And I am so bummed about that because I do think it is a beautiful foundation. Now, if any of you also have acne-prone skin, please let me know down below what your experience was, if your skin was okay, or if yours broke out like mine. Alright, let's get on to the dupe side. So the foundation that I immediately thought of when I was reviewing the Beautiful Skin is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. This is one of my holy grail foundations. I know it's a tinted hydrator, but I do find I can actually build it up flawlessly to a true medium coverage. So let's see if this one is in fact like the Charlotte Tilbury foundation. So here are 2 swatches for you guys. So this is what is left of the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin in the shade 3 Cool. And then this is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator in the shade Porcelain. Now, neither of these foundations are actually an exact match. I would love to see both of them be a little bit fairer and have a little bit more of a pink cool undertone, but I can definitely get away with them, and I think they blend into the skin really nice. Alright, so I have a brand new sponge. I wanted to use a different sponge, that way we're not doing any cross-contamination. So let me get started with the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. I will zoom you guys in closer when I am finished with application, that way you can see better. Alright you guys, so we are really up close and personal right now. So I have to say, I am not noticing a difference as far as both of the foundations. What do you guys think? Charlotte Tilbury on this side and the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator on the right side. I think they both look incredible. I don't think there's a major difference. However, let me show you the forehead. Okay, so remember how I applied the primer up here? So can you see how there's all these patches right here? And it's also on this side as well. So that's why I didn't want to apply that primer all over the skin. There's just something about it that leaves all these dry looking patches everywhere. So yeah, those primers are just not doing it for me. I'm not sure what you're seeing on camera, but in real life, they look really close, you guys. Alright, I'm going to finish up the rest of my makeup, and then I will meet you back here for the topic of the day and my final thoughts. Alright you guys, so I just went and quickly finished up the rest of my makeup since this is all about the skin today anyways. Of course I've used both of these foundations several times. Nothing funky happened with the application of the rest of my makeup. So what do you guys think so far about the skin? So once again, Charlotte Tilbury, Wet n Wild. I just brought you in a little bit closer, that way you can see the skin. So I'm noticing that as my oils are starting to come through, some of those patches are getting a little bit harder to see, but the difference was astounding when I first went in with foundation, and then as I was blending in my bronzer, it looked so bad. Not this portion of the skin, of course, but where those primers are. So I just wanted you to see up close. Hopefully you can see those spots I was talking about before, especially right here. And then on this side too. Alright, next let's cut into the topic of the day, and then I will meet you back here at the end of the night for a wear test. Hi everybody, welcome to the topic of the day. So I think it's no secret that healthcare costs in general keep going up and up and up. So one of the most common questions I get is, should I get a long-term care insurance policy? So of course, it's difficult for me to give a generic answer because everyone's situation is unique. What I will say is that if you do have a history of your family needing long-term care, then yes, a long-term care insurance policy may be something you should consider. However, when it comes to traditional long-term care insurance policies, there are two factors. So the first factor is that most of these insurance policies do require health underwriting, and extensive health underwriting at that. So these policies can be a little bit difficult to get approved for because the underwriting is so extensive. Now the second factor, when it comes to traditional long-term care insurance policies, the other factor is the premiums can be very expensive. So of course it makes sense to weigh out whether the benefits outweigh the cost. Now lastly, with traditional long-term care insurance policies, they work very similarly to regular insurances. So this means that you pay a premium, typically either monthly or annually, and then when you go to file a claim, then the insurance company will pay for a portion of your long-term care costs. Now sometimes they do work on a reimbursement schedule where you have to pay upfront and then get reimbursed those costs. Now, if you are someone who is considering long-term care insurance and a traditional long-term care insurance policy at that, but you either A, don't have the health to qualify for the actual insurance policy, or B, it's out of your price range, then I wanted to bring up one option you may want to consider. So the option I wanted to bring up is what's called asset-based long-term care. So I'm not going to have enough time to get into all the details about asset-based long-term care, but it is quite different than a traditional long-term care insurance policy. So with asset-based long-term care, it's sort of like self-funding. So it's where you take a lump sum of money and specifically designate it for long-term care. Now, of course, the most common question is, why would I want to put aside funds and have a self-funded long-term care insurance policy versus a traditional policy? So to keep it short and sweet, with traditional plans, what you pay into the plan, you can never get back. So if you go your entire life without needing to file a claim, yay for you, because of course you're healthy then, but what happens is you lose that entire premium. So you can never get that premium back. Now, with most asset-based long-term care plans, you are in control of those funds. So a lot of times these plans are called a win-win-win scenario. Now, not all asset-based plans, but some offer either A, they pay out a claim should you need long-term care, or they offer a death benefit to your spouse or any beneficiary that you should leave the policy to, and 3, you can get all or most of your money back. As I say in every video, there are almost always exceptions to any sort of finances or insurance. So if planning for long-term care is something you want to consider, then I highly recommend reaching out to either a long-term care insurance agent or a financial advisor that specializes in that area. So I do hope that you learned that asset-based long-term care may be a better fit for you instead of a traditional long-term care insurance policy. And next, let's cut into the wear test. Hi everybody, I just got home from work and my makeup has been on for just over 8 hours. So let me lean in a little bit so you can first see what my skin is looking like, and then we will get into all the details. So once again, Charlotte Tilbury and Wet n Wild. Alright, let's have a look-see here. So, you guys, I do think that the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator is a dupe. I think it is so similar in the finish, the dry down time, the texture. It just looks so similar. Now I do have a little bit of mascara that has transferred a little bit. So ignoring that, the one thing I've noticed is that, as I mentioned, I'm really dehydrated around my nose. And I do think on the Charlotte Tilbury side, it's just looking the slightest bit cakey. Nothing dramatic, and you wouldn't be able to tell if you weren't looking super close in the mirror. But I'm actually liking the Wet n Wild side just a little bit more. So if you were eyeing the Charlotte Tilbury foundation and perhaps you didn't want to spend that much on a foundation, then I highly recommend checking out the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. Alright, let's wrap up my thoughts about these primers. Alright, so it might be a little bit difficult to tell on camera. However, in real life, I do think my forehead looks less dewy than the rest of my skin. Now, typically, I get just as oily on the forehead as I do on the rest of the skin. So as far as mattifying and helping to keep the skin or the makeup on longer, I do agree with those claims. That would be pretty bad if it was keeping our skin on longer. Now, the one thing I noticed is that once my oils started to come through, a lot of that patchiness went away. However, I can still see it, especially up in this area where my bronzer kind of meets my hairline. And then there was another spot right here. It doesn't look great, you guys. Now, if you have oily skin only, no dry patches, no dehydration, then I would recommend either of these primers. Now, it's really difficult for me to say which one is better because I find that the new one really controls the oils best. However, the oil and shine control blurs the pores a little bit more. So that'll be up to you as to which one would make more sense. Now, if you have mature skin or you're over 30 like me, or you have fine lines or any sort of texture, then I would not recommend either of these primers. I am so bummed, you guys. I had such high hopes for this primer, especially when I wore it on a no makeup day. Both of these made my skin look so flawless and blurred, and they each help to control my oils. And I tried applying these primers so many different ways with multiple different makeup items, and just overall, the second I go in with my foundation or even my concealer, it just starts to look like it's peeling or pilling, however you'd like to say it. And it looked as if it was emphasizing my dry patches, but in areas that I don't have any dry patches. Like this area right here, that's not a dry spot for me. So that was all the primer kind of making it look like that. So I am really sad to say that the new Smashbox Mattifying Primer is going to be a pass from me on days I wear makeup. However, I am going to keep this primer for days that I do not wear makeup because the way it made my skin look was incredible. Alright, well, I really do hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up so it can help spread to more people. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!